Hello and welcome to FTC Top 10. My name is Ashray, and on this episode we're going to break down the top 10 FTC competition seasons. I took into consideration the engineering challenge that the season brought, how enjoyable the challenge was to spectators, and of course, how fun it was to play on the playing field.
Giving you a voice.
Making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
Let's get in number 10 for this episode. At number 10, we have the 2018-2019 game, Robotics. Many of you who competed in this game could probably agree with me that this was a rather fun engineering challenge. The mix of the gold and silver minerals and the need to sort them when scoring them into the lander was a pretty fun combination of tasks. Another really cool part about this game was having your robot do a pull-up onto the lander at the end of the game, which always provided a fun finish to matches. During the season, we saw tons of defense, unique scoring strategies like only going for the far crater or the closer crater, and many others. Though it was a great season with some amazing dynamics between teams, it wasn't the most exciting game to watch since teams were constantly moving back and forth to get and score the minerals, which puts it so low on the list. In the number 9 spot, we have a much older game, the 2009-2010 season, Hot Shot. Hot Shot was one of the first FTC games and was the very first FTC shooting game. In Hot Shot, teams collected and shot balls into 2 central goals. The coolest part for me was that these goals could spin around. Being the first shooter game, it definitely must have been a huge engineering challenge, and also seemed like a great season to spectate since balls were always flying back and forth into the goals. There was also a great deal of defense during this game, which made it all the more exciting. Finally, in the end games, teams could shoot the balls outside of the field. Yeah, you heard me right. They were supposed to shoot the balls into special goals towards the audience. In the number 8 spot, we got the 2011-2012 season, Bowled Over. This season had a rather unique challenge where teams had to place balls into containers and stack the containers on top of one another anywhere on the field. It also used a weird scoring system based on the height of your container stacks, and referees had to use scoring sticks to calculate the final points. Also, as the name suggests, teams had to push a bowling ball around, which I can only imagine must have been some fun. This game had a variety of challenges and overall looked like a fun engineering challenge and great to watch. At number 7, we have 2014-2015 Cascade Effect. Teams had to stack wiffle balls into tall, tube-like cylindrical containers. There were 2 different sizes of balls, and the score was counted by how high up the tubes that the balls got. There were also smaller tubes attached to the center structure, and overall there were some very creative robots and designs for this competition. This definitely looked like an amazing engineering challenge and was pretty fun to watch too. At number 6, we got 2016-2017 Velocity VORTEX. Velocity VORTEX was a really fun game where teams had to score small wiffle balls into one of 2 center vortexes. Teams also had to fight to keep these things called beacons lit up to their alliance's color. In the endgame, teams had to place their alliance's cat ball, which was a giant 21-inch diameter yoga ball, onto their respective center vortex. The game was a ton of fun and was an eventful shooting game. Having teams fight over a limited number of balls on the field and play aggressively to take control over their beacons made the game play a lot of fun. Finally, the challenge of intaking and shooting the ball so high up was definitely a fun one, which called for a lot of variety among the robots. Overall, this was one of my favorite seasons to both watch and compete in. In the number 5 spot, we have Ring It Up from the 2012-2013 season. Ring It Up had very unique game elements where they used rings and had to score those rings on pegs on a giant rack. The game had a complicated scoring bonus point system where teams could get additional points for scoring special rings in certain combinations like tic-tac-toe. In the endgame, teams could score points based on how high they could lift up their alliance partner's robot. Seriously, the game was very difficult and very different from many other games and looked very fun to compete in and watch. At number 4, we got the 2015-2016 challenge Rescue. Rescue was just an action-packed game. There were hundreds of debris pieces scattered all across the floor, which teams had to intake and score into buckets, which were placed along the middle of 2 mountains on each corner of the field. The 2 mountains had churros across it, making it difficult for teams to climb up them. However, in the endgame, teams had to not only climb all the way up the steep mountains, but also do a pull-up on the bar at the very end, and pull down a pivoting goal at the top. Overall, this game had so many different elements to it and was so much fun to watch. In third place, we have last year's game, 2019-2020 Skystone. This game was a favorite for so many and was so fun to compete in. Teams had to transport stones from opposite corners of the field and stack them on top of one another on top of a foundation, building as tall a tower as possible. The game became extremely fun to watch as well because while teams were stacking super tall skyscrapers, the risk of those towers falling was also increasing. In the end game, teams had to move those foundations to score points and place a special capstone on top of their towers. Teams were scored for the tower's height as well as for the number of stones they were able to deliver and put on top of the foundations. There were also another great dynamic in this game between teams, where some teams played with the mission to deliver stones across the field to their alliance partners, while other teams played to just stack the towers as tall as possible. Overall, this game was so much fun to compete in and was definitely a great engineering challenge. I bet you could never guess this one, but in the number 2 spot, we have the 2008-2009 season Face Off. I know what you're thinking, how could such an old game be in the top 3? Well, in this game, they had a special rough terrain and slippery terrain field tiles. Robots started the game from off the field. The scoring elements were like field hockey pucks, and in the endgame, teams had to return back off of the fields. Throughout the game, teams had to score these pucks in containers in the middle of the field, scoring more points with the different scoring zones. There were so many crazy elements to this game, which were just so unique. It had to be in our top 3. I can only imagine how fun it must have been to compete in or watch matches during this season. Despite this whole pandemic thing going on, Ultimate Gold definitely has to be my favorite season yet. From little into the season that we've all seen so far, Ultimate Gold seems to have one of the toughest engineering challenges, and is definitely going to be one of the most fun and exciting competitions to watch. It's the first shooting game we've gotten in the past 4 years, and that too, not just with normal balls, but with frisbee-like rings. The unique game elements and return rack feature make it a very interesting challenge. Another thing I love about the season is the wobble goal, and the fact that teams have to place those outside of the field, which seemed like quite some fun. Overall, I can't wait to see what this year has in store for us, as I've already seen so many different robot designs and variations, and I'm looking forward to a great and fun competitive season. That's going to wrap up this top 10. All the game animations from the competition seasons featured in this video can be found in the description below. If you like this video and want to see more top 10s, make sure to drop a like and let us know in the comments section what your top 10 FTC competition seasons are. For more FTC content, make sure to subscribe, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FunFTC, and join our Discord using the link in the description. Until next time, see ya!
Thanks for watching. If you want more fun content, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.